Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to embark on, well, a really deeply resonant and quite somber exploration. It's a powerful story from World War II. Our mission, really, is to unpack the remarkable life and the profound loss, almost unimaginable loss, surrounding William Earl Guilford. He was a young man from Centralia, Kansas. We're looking at his story and his family's. We've sifted through personal records, historical accounts, newspaper clippings from the time, trying to reveal the true, the piercing human cost of conflict.
And what's really striking about these sources, I think, is how they go beyond just facts. They paint this vivid, quite intimate picture of a small-town life that was just, well, abruptly and profoundly touched by global war.
Yeah.
We learn that William Earl Guilford, born June 8, 1925, was, a pretty typical American teenager. He graduated Centralia High School in May 1943.
Okay.
Turned 18 that June, and with the draft expanding, he registered very quickly. Right. Enlisted in the U.S. Army almost immediately. The local paper, the Courier-Tribune, actually tracks his movements. It reports his induction at Fort Leavenworth in August 43, then heading off to basic training at Camp Fannin, Texas.
And from that point, his path, well, it undeniably led him straight into the heart of the war. What do the records tell us about William's deployment overseas after basic? Where did his military journey take him next?
Well, the cables and the reports we have indicate his safe arrival first in Maryland, then over to France.
Okay.
He was described in letters or reports home as being in the trenches. And, for anyone familiar with the Western Front, that phrase immediately conveys the brutal reality of the fighting he was facing.
Absolutely.
By September 1944, William was serving with the 1st Infantry Division, famously known as the Big Red One.
The legendary unit.
Exactly. One of the U.S. Army's most storied, most battle-hardened divisions, often right at the spearhead, pushing into enemy territory, which is just what they were doing as the Allies pushed deeper into Germany.
So he was right there, right at the sharp end. And pushing into Germany, places like Aachen, every day brought him closer to the unimaginable.
Yeah.
What do the reports say about those final heartbreaking days?
It's here that the gravity of the story really intensifies. William Earl Guilford was tragically killed in action near Aachen, Germany, September 16th, 1944.
Oh, wow.
He was just 19 years old.
Just 19.
Yeah. And this was a critical, brutal period. Aachen was about to become the first major German city to fall to the Allies, and that fight cost many, many lives.
A heavy price.
A very heavy price. William was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart, the medal given for being wounded or killed in combat. It's just a stark acknowledgement of his ultimate sacrifice right there on the battlefield.
And that in itself is just a profoundly tragic story, a young life cut so short. But when you dig into these family records, what really stands out about the sheer weight of this sacrifice for the Guilford family? Was William's loss the only one they endured?
And this is where the story of the Guilfords from Centralia becomes just uniquely heartbreaking. What's really critical, what you have to understand, is that William's death, as devastating as it was, wasn't the first immense loss for his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Guilford.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Our sources reveal an earlier, equally devastating loss. It predated William's by 2 full years.
2 years before.
2 years. His older brother, George Edgar Guilford, he was a cadet midshipman, so an officer in training for the U.S. Merchant Marine, he had already died. In the Pacific, September 1942.
In the Pacific. So a different theater entirely.
Completely different theater. George was lost at sea on the SS LaSalle. The ship went down. All hands reported missing.
Lost at sea. That's a whole different kind of peril, isn't it? What does the Merchant Marine role tell us about the scope of sacrifice? It wasn't just the front lines.
Exactly. It really underscores that the war wasn't just fought by soldiers on land. The Merchant Marine played this absolutely critical, though often unsung role, keeping supply lines open across vast, dangerous oceans. They faced immense risks constantly.
U-boats, mines.
Everything. And George, at 21 years old, he was posthumously awarded the Mariner's Medal. That's a truly rare honor given specifically for bravery or meritorious service in the Merchant Marine during wartime.
Wow.
Our records note he was actually one of only 3 Kansans ever to receive it, which just highlights the exceptional nature of his service and his loss.
It's truly sobering, isn't it, to think of one family bearing such a monumental burden. 2 sons, both giving their lives for their country within just 2 years of each other. William, 19, in that brutal fighting in Europe. George, 21, lost somewhere in the vastness of the Pacific.
Yeah.
What this story really distills for us, I think, isn't just the individual scale of sacrifice in war, but how deeply, how repeatedly it could wound the most intimate unit we have.
Yeah.
The family. For the Guilfords, it wasn't just one blow. It was this successive generational trauma that must have just profoundly reshaped their entire existence.
And the sources really convey the raw impact of this dual tragedy, not just on the family, but on their community, too. You have the presidential citation from Franklin D. Roosevelt for William, which his parents received. It speaks of him standing in the unbroken line of patriots who have dared to die that freedom might live.
Powerful words.
Very. And the Courier Tribune, the local paper, it really captured the feeling in Centralia. It stated that it was, quote, with solemn pride that the people of Centralia community look upon these awards and realize at what cost to the Guilford family the offerings were laid upon the altar of liberty.
That phrase, altar of liberty, it's incredibly powerful. But, from the sources, do we get any sense of how the Guilford family themselves grappled with that idea? Or if this solemn pride was, well, any real comfort for such a profound personal loss?
It's hard to say definitively from these records, but you sense a complex mix. While the community expressed that collective pride, the personal grief must have been just immense, overwhelming.
Of course.
Years later, William's body was finally shipped home. This was a common, incredibly painful process for so many families after the war.
Right, the repatriation effort.
Exactly. He received full military honors at a graveside service in Centralia Cemetery. It brought, a piece of him back to the community that mourned him. A final, tangible acknowledgement of his sacrifice years later.
And his parents.
It's noted that Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Guilford later moved away to Sulphur Springs, Arkansas, and tragically, Mrs. Guilford actually passed away about a year or so before William's final service was held back in Centralia.
Oh, no. So she never saw that final closure, if you can even call it that.
It seems not. It just adds another layer, doesn't it, to the family's long, long struggle with grief.
This deep dive, it really brings home these individual, heart-wrenching stories behind the overwhelming statistics of war, doesn't it?
It really does.
The dual sacrifice of William at 19 and George at 21. It's not just about dates on a calendar or names on a battle roster. It's about Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Guilford, a real family who endured the unimaginable loss of two sons, both giving their lives, each in their own theater of war. And the community of Centralia, looking on with that solemn pride, but beneath it, surely, a clear, profound understanding of the true cost laid upon the altar of liberty.
And these deeply personal narratives, like the Guilfords, they fundamentally shift how we see history. It stops being just a collection of dates and battles and becomes this living, breathing tapestry of human experience.
Right.
They force us, I think, to understand sacrifice not just as a statistic, but as this enduring ache, an ache within the very fabric of families, of communities, a price paid far, far beyond the immediate battlefield.
So if you consider individual lives and family stories like William and George Guilford's, maybe think about how these profoundly personal narratives shape our collective understanding of history and what sacrifice really means. And then perhaps consider this. What might be the lasting, silent echoes of such a dual loss, reverberating perhaps unseen through generations of a family and held within the quiet memory of a small town like Centralia?